There's a lot of things floating around about femininity and feminine energy, feminine power, and what that means and what that looks like. And I want to talk to you guys today about what that looks like it means for me. And I think with every woman, there's a journey that has to happen. And it looks a little different for every woman, exactly what that is. But I'm just going to share with you guys what that's looked like for me and what I've learned and how I embody my feminine energy and really my feminine power. I remember when I first started to desire to be more feminine, and I thought it was just about wearing girly dresses and playing dumb and crying every day. And I've learned that femininity is so much more than that. And really, that's not even what it is. That's some of those things are like the wounded aspects of femininity, but how feminine power is actually the most powerful thing that we have as women, and how our feminine power can allow us to have a more free flowing, easy, abundant life led by intuition and magic. So, first of all, what is feminine power? And I'm kind of going to also say, I'm going to say feminine power, but I also am talking about just feminine energy too. So I might use them interchangeably. But okay, to me, feminine power, feminine energy is rest, pleasure, safety, security, and time to flourish. It's soft, it's open, it's flowing, it's magnetic, it's intuitive, and it's deeply creative. And all of those words just feel so good to me. And when I first was kind of introduced to the concept of feminine energy and femininity, those were not the things that I thought that it was about. And I'm so glad that I now know what it is and that I feel very embodied in my feminine power. All right, first step to stepping into your feminine power is pouring into yourself first. This is number one. I said feminine energy was about flow. Well, feminine energy allows other people to catch the overflow. They fill up their own cup first. It starts with a self focus within. You have to be deeply self focused and make sure that you are good first before you can allow other people to take from your cup, and really not even take from your cup. Like I said, they're catching the overflow. And I remember it was Maddie James. If you guys have ever heard of her, she's a influencer, but I was on one of her lives and she said, okay, what's in my cup is for me, but you can catch this overflow though. And I loved it because that is so important to feminine power, is making sure that you are taking care of yourself. You're doing the inner work on yourself. You're showing up for yourself. You're taking care of your body. You're taking care of your mental. And then you are able to give. When a woman is pregnant, she's carrying another life, but she has to first make sure that she is good, right? She's taking prenatal vitamins, not just for the baby, but for her. She's eating, not just for the baby, but for her. All of these things that she's doing, she has to make sure that she is good and healthy and that she can support creating a new life. So if the mom completely neglected herself, she would therefore be neglecting the baby. You have to consume yourself with everything that nurtures your mind, your body, and your soul. And none of those can be lacking. And I always think about the women who look the most drained and tired and beat down and just not how they will want to look. And it's usually because they don't take care of themselves. And a lot of women fall into that because we are naturally just so giving. And it's so easy for a lot of women to pour into others and not themselves. And kind of from childhood, there are a lot of ideas where we are taught to think about others and put others before us. And, when certain things happen to us that, a little boy did, and it's like, well, what did you do? You shouldn't have been blah, 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 blah. And so a lot of things focus on how women can be at a service to others. And we have to first serve ourselves. And when you take care of yourself, everything else aligns. And when you pour into yourself first, other people can see that. They can feel that energetically. And they're like, oh, she loves herself. She takes care of herself. So let me not be on any BS with her. Like, I know I can't get away with playing her. I know she's not going to play the fool for me. I know she's not going to allow me to run over her and completely take advantage of her energy because she values it. And also, when you take care of your own energy, you take care of yourself, you focus on yourself being the best version of you. Other people are like, wow, she must be special. Like, she must be powerful. She must be magical. She must be everything that I ever would want because She's nurturing and taking care of something, and it's precious to her. And if you don't think that you're precious to yourself, why would anybody else? All right, number two, know your worth. Feminine power means never accepting less than you deserve, ever. And when you truly know your worth, you will set energetic boundaries with your work, your love life, and your personal life. And I say energetic boundaries because your boundaries are not something that you should have to communicate all the time. If you're always communicating your boundaries, they've already been crossed. So if you're always having to communicate your boundaries and say, like, well, this is not what I like, I do not accept this, like all the time, then that means that you're not really holding your boundaries energetically. And people are still trying to try you, or you're not steadfast in your boundaries. Because there's a lot of things that people will try with, like, my friends or family members I know, and they'll be telling me, and I'm just like, ooh. And they're like, I know they would never do that to you. They never call you with that. And I'm like, yeah, they don't call me with that because they know that I don't play that. My boundaries, I've never had to have a conversation with them about that because they can just sense it. They can tell these things energetically, whether it's like subconscious for a lot. They're just like, oh no, she's not one to play with. She knows her worth. This is what I like to call diva energy. Expecting the best and only allowing the best inside of your energy. And so I remember when people used to call me a diva, I would be a little offended, but now I'm like, yes, I am a diva because I know my standards and I know what I'm going to deal with and I know my worth and I'm not accepting anything less. And people love that. The people you want in your life will love it, right? I mean, if people have a problem with you wanting the best and knowing what you will and will not accept, then they're not really meant to be in your life, right? Because that means they want to take advantage of you. They'd like you to do they would like you to do what they want you to do. And that's not what we're here to do. We're here to do what feels good to us in whatever mission God gave to us, whatever we were put on this earth to do. You get what you expect, so expect what you deserve. That's on you. I mean, no one else can set your boundaries for you. It's up to you. Step 3 into stepping into your feminine power is emotional regulation and emotional intelligence. When I was growing up, I grew up in a family and around a lot of people that did not value feminine energy. The masculine was valued. So I always just was in my masculine energy because that was how things got done. That's what was respected, was the masculine energy. The feminine was not respected. The feminine was run over or, lied to, hurt. Like, it just was not safe to be feminine. And it was not acceptable. Like, it wasn't what you would want to do because the conception of what feminine meant. And so when it came to my emotions, I was very out of touch with my emotions. I would dissociate a lot. And I was just very hard. And I'm like, there's no space for emotions. Emotions are weak. They make you soft. They make you vulnerable. You'll get hurt if you have any emotions. And that's just not true. And I thought it was always just like, just get over it. Like, okay, you're sad. You're feeling all these emotions. Just get over it. And that's how I kind of work through things. But in the long run, it led to me coping with other things like, alcohol and all that jazz to try to numb the feelings that were not being properly addressed and transmuted. When I was stepping into my feminine energy, I was learning how to express my emotions in a healthy way and not just try to suppress them. Let's talk about emotions. First of all, emotions are okay. They're okay. It's okay to have emotions. Emotions are a good thing. That means that you're alive. You're human. You're reactive to your environment. Our emotions are signals. Our emotions tell us what's going on. They help us to figure out what's going on so that we can move forward in a better way to feel better. Emotions communicate and motivate our actions. When we have these feelings, when we have these emotions, we are then able to move a certain way. We are then inspired to do something a certain way or take care of something. So emotions are not bad in and of themselves. It should be neutral because emotions are just a tool, just like basically everything. Fear, for example, fear helps to keep us safe, right? It's a survival mechanism. So we need fear. We don't need to say fear is bad or like avoid feeling fear. Fear is good. It helps us identify when there's danger. Shame is a tool to let us know when we're out of alignment. Anger usually tells us where our boundaries have been crossed. And then Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way, she talks about how anger is a map and it helps us to know where we're supposed to be taking action. And so all of these emotions, of course, can be used in a negative way and can make things worse. So if you just identify your emotions when you feel them, no need to feel a big way about the emotions themselves because you're already feeling a way. It's just about observing them, identifying them, and managing it in a healthy way. First of all, you want to always recognize your emotions, identify what that emotion is you're feeling. There's like a chart that you can look at if you're struggling to figure out what the emotion is. Um, Figure out what emotion you're feeling, understand what that is trying to tell you, and then manage it in a healthy way so that you can move forward. So, managing your emotions, what will be a healthy way to manage? Meditate, journal, color, write a rap song. I don't know, that one was really random, but just what would you do to self soothe in a healthy way that's not drugs or alcohol or all that jazz? For me, I got really deep into Abraham Hicks' teaching, and she talked about how you have to care about how you feel. So for me, this really started with caring about how I felt because a lot of us, especially women that have been more in our masculine, and we would just push down our feelings, we wouldn't really process. mm, We weren't even really paying attention to how we felt. And I was so used to feeling bad, whether it was anxious, angry, sad, disappointed, numb, that to me, I was just like, well, this is just pretty normal. Like every day I'm irritated about something low key. It was a low key irritation. Every day I'm irritated, but I got really conscious of how I felt in every moment. And it was a lot at first because I'm like, dang, I'm annoyed. Dang, I'm annoyed. Dang, I'm annoyed. And it was like, okay, but if you were trying to call in all these things into your life, you have to be in a better feeling state. You can't manifest your dream life. You can't call all these things in and be sad as hell. It's just not going to work. And And when you don't care about how you feel, you allow yourself to just get out of whack for days or weeks on end. And you don't even know what happened because the trigger was 3 weeks ago. And so as soon as I now feel any negative emotion, I immediately address it. And I'm like, okay, you're feeling this. First of all, I identify, and then I'm like, okay, but why are you feeling that way? What's going on? And then I have a chat, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, okay. And I've gotten so good that I can do this without even having to journal. But sometimes if it's really deep, and in the early days, which was like 2 years straight, I would always just journal whenever I would be feeling these emotions and scared. I remember one time, I'll tell you guys an example. One time I was planning a influencer event. This was like really like one of my first influencer events. And I was feeling so stressed and like worried about inviting people. And I was like, what? Why are you so sad about this? What's going on? Like, why are you so sad? And I did the journaling. I asked myself, like, why are you so sad about this thing that should be good? What's going on? And I found out that it was because my birthday is in February. I live in Michigan, and there was a lot of times in my childhood where people wouldn't be able to show up for my birthday party. They wouldn't be able to come out the house because it would be a snowstorm, like even my own dad, like a couple times. I don't know, it was a couple, whatever. I know at least once that he didn't even come because it was snowing, which was valid. Like I get it. But to me as a kid, it just kind of hurt that like people would all I was never ever I never ever felt I never ever felt secure that people were going to show up for me for my events because my birthday was in the cold. And it wasn't because people didn't like me, just because literally, girl, it's February. And the event I was planning, this was in April. So it wasn't a weather thing, but I just realized that that was something I had to transmute and move past from my childhood that was popping up today and still making me feel away. And that's real power when you can do that. And then now, this next part about emotional regulation and intelligence. This is the key. This is a major key. What other people say or do is never truly about you. It's never about you. Even if they say it's you, they say it's your fault, they try to they try to slander you, it's never actually about you. It's always about them. And so knowing that that can help you to start to stay more centered and calm and not react all the time when somebody else is like trying to come at you with something negative or a belief, because you know it's not really about you, it's about them. And I have quite a few things, examples of that. I've just like, well, I'll use this example. Jay-Z has this interview where he says his uncle was like, man, you can't be no rapper. Like, you're not going to be able to do that. And Jay-Z told him, no, man, you can't do that. I can do whatever I want to do. You can't do that. You're trying to project onto me your limiting beliefs, or how you feel. And that's not how I feel about myself. So I'm always very cautious when people try to tell me about myself, because I'm like, that's not really about me. It's really how you view yourself. I even thinking about that one saying where it'd be like, she thinks she all that. And they're like, no, you think I'm all that. And that bothers you. So getting better with not always getting triggered and riled up and sad and disappointed when other people feel a way about you and the way you move. That's power. And you have to have that power if you really want to be that girl. Like, if you really want to be at the top of your game, whether you want to be on social media or not, like you want to be a content creator or not, you're just at your company. Like, you can't be moved by everything somebody says. You can't be moved by everything somebody does. You got to stay solid, because nothing matters outside of you. Like, this is your world. And if you let every little thing bother you in your world, it's going to be rough, and you're not going to be in your power. So let your emotions be a guide. Let your emotions be a tool to show you where you still have some work to do, to show you where you can level up, to show you where you are holding yourself back. That's what emotions are. And it's been so powerful for me. When we talk about doing inner work, babe, we're talking about oftentimes emotions. Like, we know it's time. I know for me, it's time to do inner work because emotions are coming up. Negative emotions are coming up. And it tells me it's time to deal with something, whether it's from my childhood or it's just something that I'm going through right now, or even when I'll tell you guys this. I've been on social media for a while, but YouTube kind of always scared me because I was like, everybody says YouTube people are mean. And I also was like, I don't want people to misinterpret the things that I'm saying. And I was really scared about that. And sure enough, of course, because that was a fear I had, it did happen on a couple videos where people were misinterpreting me. And I was like, oh my God. But that was something that had to come up for me to really process and realize that, like, there's nothing to be scared of. I know my intentions, and the people who get me and rock with me know my intentions. So I can't be for everybody. I can't worry about making sure I'm doing everything to make sure everybody else is satisfied. Am I satisfied? Number 4, embracing pleasure. Pleasure is a feminine energy superpower. We have to care more about the sensual things in life from our all 5 senses, all of them, and enjoying things more. So indulge in your senses more. Stop and smell the roses. Stop and look at the sunset. Use some essential oils when you're in the shower. When you get out the shower, you're putting on your lotion, really pay attention and slow rub into your body. You know what I'm saying? Like, just make everything more fun. Slow down a bit. And since I've started enjoying more pleasure in my life and indulging in my senses, I really don't like rushing. And I talked about this at the beginning, how feminine energy is being able to just flow through time, and it's not having to rush. And so now whenever I have to rush, I'm like, oh, I don't like rushing. I don't like rushing at all. When I have to rush now, I'm like so upset. Because feminine energy is just vibing. Like, I don't work on a schedule. The only thing for sure that, like, I'm always like, is Pilates class, or obviously if I'm meeting somebody or if I have an event. But even then, usually I don't have to get there right when it starts, unless it is that type of event, of course. But I just like to be able to flow and really stop and smell. And like, it's because sometimes I stopped at the store and I was just walking around browsing. Sometimes it's because I was watching something really good on YouTube, or sometimes it's because I wanted to take a long shower, or whatever it is. But making more space for pleasure in your life will help you to soften up and also to notice the simple pleasures in life as well. My camera deck. So let's just start from the beginning of number five. Number five is get comfortable receiving. The feminine receives, so stop blocking it. Whether somebody wants to buy you coffee or give you a compliment, fully receive it. Don't feel like you immediately have to give them something right back, or even be like, no, 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 thank you, or like, no, like that's not true, like I'm not that, or like try to add a caveat, because all it's doing is showing lack. Like you're blocking what God is trying to give you. And also, you're also putting lack on them, because it's like either, well, this could be a few things. Either you don't feel worthy enough to receive whatever you are being given, or you're trying to say that they are lacking and are not able to give whatever they are trying to give you. Because when we receive, understand that it is a blessing to them. Us receiving is allowing the person that is giving to also receive when we say thank you. Like, when you give somebody a gift, and when they get the gift and they say, oh my gosh, thank you, I love this. Or if they say, oh my God, this is too expensive. Or like, oh my God, like I can't accept this. Like, this is too much. Or like, oh wow, like I can't accept it. I don't like it. Or like whatever. But what feels best for you as somebody giving something? It's when they just receive it. So when somebody tries to give you something, just receive it. That's a part of the feminine. The feminine receives. Then also, receiving is key to manifestation. Every single thing that you are asking God for, that you want to receive, somebody else is going to be involved. Whether it's somebody writing that check or somebody hiring you for that job, there is always going to be other people involved in giving you what you want to receive. So when you are so used to always saying no or not completely receiving when people are trying to give you stuff, you block the ways that your manifestation can come in, and sometimes literally block the manifestation itself, because you're always like, oh no, no, thank you. Or like, no, no, no. Da, 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 da. So receive more and truly sit in that energy of receiving without feeling like you immediately need to give something back, or you have to make it a little bit less, or whatever it is, but just receive more. Number six, creating, the ultimate feminine superpower. So, as women, we are creators. We are literally the ultimate creators. We literally can bring life into this world. So, creating is so important to us being able to express ourselves and know who we are, and to change humanity. Our desires are divine downloads. And so, you have to be creative enough to even think about the things that you want to create or bring into this life. And then also, I used to not believe that I was creative. And that was what kind of stopped me from wanting to be a content creator full time, because I felt like I wasn't creative. And so when I finally read The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, I definitely recommend that for anybody feeling like they're not creative. Read Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, no matter what discipline of creativity that you like. But I realize that we all are inherently creative, and all you have to do is just pay attention to it and just create what you can. And when I started to just create what I felt like creating, I learned who I was. I discovered who I was by creating. And you have to express yourself in order to have a self to express. And I didn't know who I was because I wasn't creating anything. But once you start creating things, you're like, oh, I was like, oh, I'm actually quirky. Well, I knew I was quirky, but I'm just using an example. Or what else did I realize? Um, I really love natural beauty, natural things. I like the beauty that can be found in just nature and organic things like my nightstand or whatever. Your creativity will also help you get confident and solidify who you are and how you express yourself. My creativity gave me confidence in who I was. And born out of my creativity was obviously my social media, all my platforms. I launched an affirmation deck for creativity. I've worked with tons of brands to create content for their missions and what their visions were. And I also created an entirely new life. Like I changed career paths. Like my life looks completely different from where it did when I was in college, when I graduated college. And that was from my creativity. The feminine is always creating and nurturing and birthing something new. So maybe in this period of time, you might not literally be creating something new, but maybe you're nurturing something. So I'm nurturing my YouTube right now, right? I'm showing up consistently to nurture what I know that I want to bring to life. Or maybe you're nurturing your business, or maybe you're literally actually nurturing kids. But whatever it is, that is a part of the feminine energy and in our power. That's really it. Feminine energy is powerful. It really is. I used to think it was something so weak and dangerous before I really understood what it was. And now I know it's just so magnetic and powerful and beautiful and life giving, literally. When you're ready to start getting deeper into your feminine energy, I would recommend, like I said, leaning into all the things that I talked about, taking care of yourself first, knowing your worth, regulating your emotions, embracing pleasure, being open to receiving more, and creating so much more than you already are. And I promise you, you will see your power increase. You will see the magic. You will see the beauty. You will feel like you are glowing more. People will tell you that you are glowing more. People will tell you that basically everything that you desire, you are going to become more of that. You are going to literally be the version of you that you've always wanted to be. And it's just going to continue to level up from there as you go deeper and deeper into these things, and more of them become who you are and not just something that you are, practicing more, which is nothing wrong with, right, in the early days, but you are going to become embodied in this, and this is who you are going to be. And you are not even going to remember the old way of who you were, besides when you're like, oh yeah, or somebody tries to bring up that old life. They're like, remember when that actually happened to me, y'all? Somebody told me that in college, they compared me to Squidward. They're like, yeah, you were like Squidward. You were like kind of mean and just so like flat. And I was like, I was? I'm like, I didn't even know it was that bad. And maybe it was to that specific, I don't know. I mean, I know that I was definitely dissociating a lot, but it's just all going to shift, and your energy is going to become so magnetic, and people are just going to love being around you, and you're going to love being around you. And the more you embrace this, the more life is just going to flow so easily, and people are just going to be like, how does she do it? And it's going to be like, oh, it's just my feminine energy, babe. It's just my feminine power. Yeah, that's really it. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.